A lot of people who have spoken about you would say your amount of few words in the documentary showed us that. Some would also say you seldom smile. You rarely smile. Those who know you will say that he's a very difficult person to understand. But on this stage today, we would see that part of His Excellency that we've not seen before. We'll also get to learn some things we've not learned in a while. And I will leave the snippets until he comes on stage. But first, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, you would join me in welcoming His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. He's a man of many firsts. Under his leadership, we have seen tremendous growth in the country. He is one of the first few presidents of the continent that declared free and quality education for citizens. One of the very few who is giving women representation across the continent, and one of the very few who maintains that people-focused leadership is his passion. On that note, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, on stage as he takes his video speech.
Thank you very much. Let's sit down, please. I actually feel like 61 today. I want to start by thanking you, my brother and friend, Professor Stephen, for taking time to come over. It's a very, very honor for me. Thank you for coming. I want to start. I don't know if I should stand on board existing protocols, but let me honor the Honorable Vice President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Mohamed Julius, Your Excellency, former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Professor Julius and my dear wife, Dr. Fatima Maada, the Honorable Speaker of Parliament, the Chief of the Defense Staff, Your Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, government ministers, deputies, our welfare branches here, members of the press, invite the best, my family, members and friends who are here today, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all of you. Esteemed guests, thought leaders, and fellow citizens of Australia, I welcome all of you to our first colloquium with deep gratitude. As we are here today to explore the principles of effective leadership and governance, I'm also conscious that this date, 12th May 2025, marks my 61st year of life. And for that I say thank you to God for the gift of life. In the relentless service of our nation, as one of my students like this, Casper's one was noticed. However, I've come to view things not just as markers of time, but as sacred moments in life's continuous journey. Moments when we pause, as we have paused today, to reflect on the lessons learned and look forward to new horizons. Ladies and gentlemen, today, I want to reflect on the formative experiences that have my beliefs, the strong connection of duty and motivate our work, and a core to service that encourages all of us to turn our vision into lasting impact for the people we serve. Ladies and gentlemen, my path to public office was fully shaped by people. As a young soldier answering the call of duty during one of the darkest years in the nation's history, I learned that leadership might begin in crisis, but it must endure beyond it. Every negotiation, political and military leaders, and every conversation which concerns citizens and civilians taught me one beautiful truth. Leadership is not conferred by rank or by title, but by the bond of trust between those who lead and those who serve. My encounters with farmers in the provinces when I normally go around, market women in Freetown, bustling stores, and teachers in remote classrooms have shaped my understanding of governance as a profound responsibility towards human dignity. However, before any uniform of office, my first lessons in leadership were learned at home. The family is the foundation which our earliest ideas are formed. There is no single definition of family, nor is leadership as to age, gender, social status. Leadership, I have discovered, is everywhere leaders choose to start. My mother, blessed memory, was resilient, God-fearing, and unyielding in her values. She spared our household through hardship after her father passed away. Through her examples of honest hard work and unshakable faith, she taught me the truth. She taught me that true authority grows from sacrifice and trust. My late elder sister also exemplified leadership. Her sacrifice was not one of comfort to ensure my education remains one of my greatest privileges. From then, I learned that the foundation of leadership does not rest in public office, but in the quiet acts of love and courage that uphold families and communities. They taught me how leadership flourishes outside traditional corridors of power. In classrooms and fields, in marketplaces, in hospital walls, women across the region have risen as actors in progress, often without recognition or reward. Their resilience reminds us that nation building demands the inclusion of women's vision, women's voices, and also women's wisdom. In my 61 years of life, I've come to realize that leaders are not born fully developed. Leaders are shaped by trials that test their resolve, by vibrations that sharpen their purpose, innovation that expand their vision. From the direct barracks to the State House, I have witnessed leadership and innovation through adversity, the rigors of training, the crucibles of conflict, and the demands of governance. At every stage, I have highlighted two key principles. One, the importance of foresight in anticipating both the immediate challenges and those that lie ahead. Two, the courage to embrace innovation even when it disrupts and familiar. Leadership is, among other things, the art of awakening in others a desire to serve their fellow men and women. Leadership is a part of the journey of self-discovery that finds its fullest expression in acts of passion, justice, and courage. True leadership transcends the confines of the titles and the stations that we carry. It stands as a living testament to our shared humanity, the bond of trust that unites hearts and minds in the pursuit of a common good. I'd like to dwell briefly on four paramount elements of leadership that I have learned in my journey to where I am. Leadership actually begins in humble places. In the midnight vigil of the North standing to the sick. In the steady hands of a miner delving deep into the earth to get the minerals out. In the tireless journeys of motorcyclists linking our communities. In the patient guidance of the mother who gathers her children to read beneath fading arms. Service without the need for title or recognition is the truest measure of influence. Quiet, steadfast, and radiant with compassion. Education is the key that unlocks the mind's horizons. It kindles curiosity, empowers innovation, and forges intellectual tools with which we build our collective future. By nourishing the mind, we cultivate the seeds of discovery and resilience that no storm can uproot. At the heart of my philosophy lies a profound conviction. All that I am and all that I have achieved is a gift from God. As our distinguished guest of honor, Professor Yemi, when you remind us of 2017, and I quote you, there is no wisdom in man that can change the man or change nations. It is the power and wisdom of God that can end the conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, having said that, faith alone does not work in miracles. It is the bedrock upon which we build our labor. The compass that guides us through moral uncertainties. The other thing is humility. what does it do to us? It tempers our ambition, reminds us of our limitations as leaders and as human beings. And often talk about accountability. What it does is to bind us to the promises that we serve not ourselves but the people who place their faith in us. I did a reflection on my role as father, as husband, as former soldier, teacher, businessman, and now as president, keeps me mindful that leadership is above all an act of stewardship. Human progress is one of shared purpose. Trust is an invisible fabric that knits individuals into a community, transforming different dreams into a unified vision. When we place confidence in one another's goodness and capability, we unleash a collective energy far greater than any solitary ambition. In that unity of hearts and minds, the nation finds deep strength. As the democratically elected president, after our independence, I carry the weighty responsibility of charting a course for the nation seeking its acknowledged success. I must say, nation building is neither abstract nor immediate. It requires patient labor of system builders who think beyond 5-year horizon of election cycles. Our future must be anchored in core African values, reverence for wisdom of our elders, paired with the courage to innovate for tomorrow. From the hands that seal our faith to the miners deep underground, from teachers shaping the minds to civil servants quietly keeping our institutions functional, every student contributes to our collective destiny. Leadership means service, and true service often goes unseen. I recall as once a young female professional asking me during one of my anti-political campaigns whether I truly needed to be president to make a difference in Australia. That question has haunted me and inspired me also ever since. Service requires no title. Our doctors, nurses, security forces, being collectors, motor riders, farmers, markets, women are the silent heroes whose dedication sustains our daily lives. The difference of leadership is measured not by fame or authority, but by the impact we have on others. If we as a nation learn to honor every act of service, no matter how small, we lay the groundwork for enduring unity and shared purpose. Service without fact demands humility and compassion. We must remember that the loudest voices are seldom the source custodians of wisdom or power. The quiet dedication and work of countless nameless men and women is the true engine of social cohesion and national progress. Education is the clearest path to empowerment. Here, when you go around people talk about empowerment, they actually mean cash in hand. But nothing is more empowering than education. Nothing, absolutely. When acquired in schools, in workshops, or in marketplaces of life, education broadens our horizons and equips us to meet the challenges of the rapidly developing world which we are living. From my first time spring quality education program, which allocated 22% of our national budget to learning, to the revitalization of technical and vocational training, our administration has invested in human capital development because no weapon is as potent against poverty and ignorance as knowledge. A nation that feels its people or starts its intellect betrays its own potential. We must nourish the mind as purposefully as we cultivate our crops in the fields. Leadership rests upon trust in the integrity of institutions and especially in the collective potential of our people. Trust is born when citizens believe their grievances will be heard, their rights protected, and their aspirations supported. Sierra past has shown us the tragic cost of signaling voices and unspoken truths. Healing these divisions require more than grand gestures. It demands robust mechanisms for dialogue, reconciliation, and justice. These mechanisms persist beyond the term of any individual president. Only when we build bridges of understanding across ethnic, religious, and regional lines can we claim unity that undergirds the state is peace. Leadership like faith requires forgiveness, recognizing missteps without allowing regret, anger, or desire for revenge. As God extends to us that grace, so must we extend it to one another. Let's learn to forgive, and if possible, forget. I engage in daily introspections. How can I be a better man, a more attentive leader and father, a more compassionate friend, a more servant-hearted president? This pursuit of improvement, I believe, is a true measure of character. Nations prosper not by the wings of the leaders, but by the strength of institutions that have started them. Democracy is not merely a casting of ballots. It is a living system of checks and balances, of civic spaces where citizens speak and are heard with dignity. From an independent judiciary to a credible electoral system, from the centralization that empowers local councils anti-corruption bodies that hold the power to account. Our administration has sought to fortify the framework that safeguards liberty. We have welcomed criticism, protected the freedom of expression, and broadened participation of the marginalized, knowing that the success of leadership is the resilience of our institutions under pressure. The country cannot flourish when half of its people are constrained by outdated norms. Now I come to our women. Women's leadership is not a concession to granted, ladies and gentlemen. It is a right to be affirmed. Through legislative reforms, tackling gender-based violence, financial windows dedicated to women entrepreneurs, and targeted scholarship guides in STEM, we have sought to tear down barriers that have long dimmed the potential of our women in this country. When women rise, families stabilize, communities prosper, and nations advance. As we forge our country's future, we must ensure that every woman stands not at the margins, but at the very center of our collective endeavor. Children have gone the way of deep divisions, political, social, regional, and cultural. I know that in my own journey to this office, I have at times stumbled and offended a lot of people. Yet, true leadership illustrates or bears no easy shackled by it. Healing starts with sincere dialogue and the bravery to reconcile, creating connections instead of walls of protection. When we focus on our differences instead of building connections that go beyond them, we often pay a steep price. However, achieving unity is neither quick nor easy. It requires durable and thoughtful solutions that ensure every citizen has just cause in times of conflict. Our progress so far is a work in motion. We have come far from colonial subjugation to civil strife to the hard-won fight of democracy. But many more miles remain ahead of us. We can claim true unity as a nation when we accomplish the remaining work of the job. We must honor those who sacrifice for our freedoms, recognize the tireless efforts of soldiers and civilians alike, and commit anew to rooting out injustice where it survives. True patriotism transcends flags and national anthems. It finds expression in every civic responsibility that we carry out. An army and police force may protect our borders, but trust in the decisions and in each other's strength is what creates social impact. I honor, therefore, the veterans who have sacrificed for our democracy. Many are one of those. The civil society champions who took out our freedoms, the everyday citizens who fulfill their duties with integrity. All of them, I say congratulations. Keep up the good work. is that future generations of Sierra Leoneans continue to regard their citizenship as a solemn trust, to build, to serve, and to preserve our heritage. I think of this program as a living laboratory for leadership. My birthday wish is to celebrate each year the emergence of new leaders, mentors, and mentees, bound by shared purpose, pioneers forging uncharted paths, thinkers whose ideas will carry our nation forward. Through the Julius Maada Leadership and Innovation Prize, we will honor those whose service exemplifies the pillars of leadership. My true hope is that their examples kindle aspiration on the hearts of every Sierra Leonean. I'm not one grand celebration of myself, ladies and gentlemen. On this day of personal reflection, I challenge all Sierra Leoneans to embrace leadership in their respective spheres of life, whether in the household, in the boardroom, classroom, clinic, or field, or faction. Let us recommit civility forged in diversity to institutions built on trust and to service offer without expectation of reward. May our people-centered leadership light the past to the future bring promises of great generations yet unborn, for a resilient nation and for our shared humanity. I appreciate each and every one of you, ladies and gentlemen, taking time to celebrate with me at this first beginning of your leadership program. May God bless you all. May God bless our beloved nation. And may God bless the people of Sierra Leone. I wish every Sierra Leonean born on the 12th of May a happy birthday.
I've already requested that this speech
will be given to me the day after this event. I really need to read that speech. It's quite incisive, good, and important for anyone, for students of leadership. Another one of applause. Well, thank you very much, Your Excellency. This is the second part of this session. And like I promised the guest, there are parts, there are things we never knew about His Excellency. That we're going to probe him and see how we can get that information out of him. Your Excellency, I only recently learned that you had a role to be the Reverend Father at some point. That's an interesting news. At some point, you also taught for a few months. Before the love of Sierra Leone and the love of country drew you to service to your fatherland, and of course, an urge to also contribute to building the country that you love. Now, something very striking from that, from cradle to this stage is that there seems to have been a smooth transition from a military leader or a military man to of course the Democrats and the leader. Now, what would you say, looking back, prepared you for that smooth transition? Because we've seen those who struggle to drop that uniform and embrace democracy, leadership, and also governance. What would you have said prepared you for that transition?
Thank you very much. First, let me thank all of you for coming here today. I think I found a beautiful way with my friends and my family to celebrate my birthday. But if I had pursued my first initiative, which was to meet the Reverend Father, that would have been an unfortunate situation today. Not so. Because you wouldn't elect me as president. Not yet. And you are going to reach a great first lady. So, it is God that decides where we go. We plan, but He decides. He makes the final decision. I put that my brother. Everything that we do, we think we are planning, we think we are actually in charge, but we are not. We are only doing according to His will. So, I am where I am because this is where God wanted me to be. And talking about transition from military to politics, when we are trained as officers in the military, as an officer, we are trained as a leader. It's actually leadership. But before even I came to the military, I went to the school dedicated to bring up leaders. You can easily call it the teaching experience. Most people call it the old school. You did not go to that school if you are not a son or nominee of a paramount chief. This was deliberate and purposeful on the part of the British who ruled at the time. They wanted their own, the chiefs they had, their own children and nominees to be trained to take over. They didn't want problems like we have around now. A lot of people protested because they don't know what leadership is actually about. So not by my own design, like I said again. I was going to CKC and I would have been. I was actually going to CKC because of my little Catholic, and I once I decided to go to school again, not I think choice by default, but I also believe that there was divine direction in that. So this school taught me how to lead. We are leaders from that school, and they train you, the administration of the school, when you are in classes, in the hands of teachers. But for the rest of the day, the school children themselves are monitored by, we have office, we have our police system, we have people who decide who eats and when to eat. They are one of the fathers. And we have people who say, this is. So when you go through all of those, you are not prepared to lead when leadership calls upon you. And of course, I truly believe, even as a military man, that democracy is still the best form of government. Although when we wear our uniform, you call us dictators, but this dictator then has brought more democratic credentials to this nation. Actually leading the first democratic. Like we said, democracy itself is not just about election, casting your vote. But what we call liberal democracy are the freedoms that go with democracy. I
I left off in 1996, and when I came back, I realized that the freedoms that should go with democracy are still not with the casting of our votes. That was why I freed the press. That was why I removed the death penalty. And we have to involve in a raft of reforms meant to open up the space, especially for the women and for the children. So my democratic credentials are not by accident. I truly believe in it. And our war was actually as a result of lack of democracy. When a few people decided they will have only one party, and that we have no option, we only vote for that same party. I was supposed to be even in the military. But we did not have the means as a people to democratically remove them, because we only had one way to vote. And all of those who rose in the side had their faith in the grave. But we thought it necessary to take the risk to remove them so that this country can be free. It was not for the sake of power that we took over. I will bring that out at a later time. In fact, our mission that day, on the 29th of April 1992, was only to come and remove them and then go back to the front. But we needed people to replace them, and we didn't have the right people. So we got stuck. We were government, we did not think through all the processes. But if you remove the government, you have to replace the government.
I was far gone when my boss then, Strasser called me. He said, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm going back to that room." He said, "Where are you living in?"
I said, "No, you are the leader. You stay there and carry on. I'm going to fight for my people." He said, "No, you have to go back here." That was how I became the most polite person to become Minister of Information. So, for me, democracy we should cherish. Even those who claim to be the proponents of democracy, let them remain on it. But I think it is the best form. When we all decide that this person is our leader, this party is the winner, let the majority decide the fate of the nation, rather than we feel it has not worked, and I shouldn't be. And so my transition, you know, I don't want to give an analogy for the ornaments that we wear. We like gold. Everybody likes gold. Gold is one of the most expensive. And in fact, it's even more expensive today than ever. Gold in its raw form, nobody wants it. It's all scattered on the earth. Some in nuggets and some in statue. It has to be refined. It has to go through a refinery, a furnace that builds it up. For us to be good leaders, we have to go through those crucibles. I have had to go through a lot to get to where I am. So for me, it's an honor of my life at the chief of this country. I wanted them to vote me in, not me coming in and telling them, today I'm the head. They have no saying that in this one, as I sit here, all of them said they voted for me. But there are few people who didn't vote. I say thank you for telling me that you cannot be the same people. So the transition, and for me, has never, because I prepared myself for it. The military training, I can see one of my bosses here, they put us through very difficult training. And like I told you, an officer cadet is trained as a leader to lead men in battle, in stress. That's why sometimes people say, oh, there's so much and we are so calm. Fear is infectious, and the leader should not express that. You have to remain calm to find solutions. Cowards die many times before their death.
because we had a situation and one of my soldiers started running in the wrong direction, he was actually going towards the enemy. And he got his death quite actually. Because he was so afraid. He did not even wait to appreciate the battle, to understand where these people are coming from. He was so afraid that he ran towards them. So, leaders must have the nerve to stand very difficult situations. Because everybody around you will panic, and if they see panic in your face, they will be running faster than you. So you must endeavor to be calm and to lead, because that's only way you can take over. So, coming to this question again, for me, it has been a natural transition. I've had to go through many situations in the military, my training, my studies, and of course, after I left, I gave myself close to 15 years before I came back. I lived in two democracies, in France and in the United States. I have been a keen observer of what makes these democracies tick. So, I was well acclimatized when I came back, and therefore I have found this incompatible with my military background.
Thank you very much, Julius. Also,
yes, a lot of activities. This is a loaded answer from His Excellency. But I'd like to pivot a bit. I think I've asked this question some time ago, where I asked that, in your first term, education and human capital development was a key, key message and a key theme of the administration. And I remember asking you at one point, I said that that's not a politically convenient decision to take, especially because those to be empowered and those who perhaps will be ready to